Essentially, the authentication factors are of three types. It is what you know, which means the knowledge factors. It includes like passwords, pins, things like that. The second is about who you are, which is the inheritance factor. This can be your iris, like Aadhaar uses iris. It can be your biometric and things like that. And the third thing is what you have. What you have is also called possession factor, and world uses a concept of a risk-based mitigation. It means that the authentication is not being used, but a risk-based framework is used. Second part is a friction, which means that whenever you're trying to authenticate, not all the user will be successful because the hardware world and the software world is not perfect.
One thing that, something that has been a lot in discussion these days, even there were draft guidelines by the regulator, and something that, we at Juspay keep thinking about as well. That one thing that has not happened in payments that much in authentication is that inherence as a factor. Like we discussed three factors of authentication, three concept frameworks of authentication. Inherence as a factor has not been explored that much in payments.
Yeah.
Whereas in
we use that
otherwise almost like every day, whether it's our smartphones, even unlocking a lot of apps, etc. We use it. So and even in West, Apple Pay, Google Pay, there has been a lot of focus on this. So what do you think will be the next evolution, or how will inherence be used? Do you think, first of all, let me ask you this, do you think inherence will become a critical factor in the coming few months, if not years?
Yeah.
Right. And how do you think it will evolve?
Yeah. So very important point, right? Now, almost all my asset unlocking is by my Face ID or my biometric. Right? So you unlock your phone, you unlock your favorite UPI app, and you unlock your favorite bank app, all by actually fingerprints and Face IDs. However, the payments are still not being done by that. So we'll obviously see an evolution in that. The second factor why I think that will rise, right, is that the smartphone evolution. So like the big manufacturers like Google and Apple have invested a lot in the actual hardware of the mobile, which means that now in the mobile there is an extra chip. It is called by various names in different words like secure enclave, secure element. But this chip is an extra security chip which is inside in your mobile. Almost 95% of the mobiles now carry that. This chip ensures that a secret once given to the chip never goes out. Only the essence of it goes out.
Okay.
So this secure element and all these two factors will actually lead to this inheritance factor. You rightly said, right? In months, we'll see that by next year, a lot of payments will be happening by this inheritance factor.
Got it. But let's go a little deeper into this subject, because this is something which will be of interest
Correct.
to the ecosystem, our audience as well.
Yeah.
So when you talk about chip on a device, people will have questions on how secure is this?
Yeah.
What happens if someone hacks my phone, etc. These are the general questions, right? So if you can explain that, how does, maybe in a simple way, but how does it mean that your data is secure? Because in payment there is some transmission happening to the outside world, right?
Correct.
There are so many players involved in processing a transaction. So what happens behind the scenes, if you can give some information on that?
Yeah. Exactly. So like I talked, right? So your mobile phone has this extra chip inside it, and you're simply at the same time your phone also has a SIM, right? So first we'll talk about this concept of when we talked earlier, this concept of chain of trust, which means that you will use your existing SIM to establish and onboard this new chip or to make payments on your behalf.
Okay.
Now the first factor that how will somebody onboard onto this new form of payment is when he already has a SIM. Like it will not happen that I don't have any access to your SIM or anything, and I can onboard and do my payments via my biometric. So that is one factor of authentication, one concept that we covered. The other concept is that how is this chip itself is secure, right? Like, can somebody steal data from this? No. So the hardware manufacturers have ensured that the data inside it never goes out. And even when a transaction is happening, only the essence of it, which means that the transaction payload goes into that chip and only a 15-minute signature comes off out of it, which means that after 15 minutes or any X number of X minutes of time, this is actually invalid. So which makes sure that this payment will be always secure, and this trust can never be misused as such.
So to summarize, you're saying that one, there would be, de facto controls which are being built by the hardware providers itself, which make it very secure.
Yeah.
And second, there are some velocity checks in terms of time, in terms of value, etc. That the ecosystem will also put in to minimize any exposure as such, thus making it.
So the RBI draft actually talks about it, that there will be various risk factors in judging that what should be type of authentication for this transaction as such, right?
Yeah.
So all these controls and information to the user will be always given, that whenever a factor of authentication is set up, he's intimated about it, or whenever it is used, you're intimated about it. So all these things will evolve with the industry. But one thing is sure, that inheritance as a factor will come inside the merchant payment ecosystem, which was only right now consolidated onto, let's say, a app or to a bank level ecosystem.
Okay. So have you done any early POC onto this?
Yeah.
And how have been the results when,
Yeah, and that is why we are excited about it, right? Like, see, first of all, we have to realize that this inheritance as a factor, right, is very efficient, which means that it does not depend on you having the right connection, like your telecom or network connection, right? It doesn't require a lot of data, right? It is just one small message that will go, which automatically means that the drop-offs, which we're talking about, the friction, right, is really reduced now. So there is only one data packet that has to reach to your issuer, which means that the user's bank, and the transaction will be done. And we see that from our very early POCs, there will be a massive jump in the authentication success rate, and we feel that this benefit will be translated to all the users who are transacting on their favorite apps.
Yeah, it will make the payment product managers very happy, as well as the marketing folks, because a lot of dollars being spent on user acquisition, and finally dropping out at the final leg of payment, right, is criminal.
They would analyze all the funnels. They would put in so many dollars to get new users, and he has come to the payment page. He wants to actually pay now, right? He's saying that I want to pay money, and then he is not able to pay.
Yeah.
So this is almost criminal to not let that user pay.
Absolutely.
And I think that this evolution of new factor of authentication will absolutely remove that friction out of it.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think a lot of interesting things coming up in authentication, especially in payments, and it will benefit both the merchants and the payment ecosystem in general. And as Juspay, we have been working on various forms of authentication for long. That has been our, hero products, right? And we are looking forward to this. Eh? This is going to be interesting.
Like the next few months will be very exciting for us.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Hope you had some insight into what is happening in the areas of authentication, what is authentication in payments, and if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you.